You dedicate the space, you buy the plants, you wait all season, and you end up with a harvest you could fit in one hand. If I had known my plants were only going to produce a couple of peppers that year, I would have just planted something else in that spot. But here is the good news. Most of the time, the reason your peppers are underperforming comes down to a handful of mistakes that are completely fixable. And the good news is that once you learn what these plants actually need, and when they need it, you can go from getting a handful of peppers to pulling off hundreds from the same plants. So let's start by taking an honest look at what your pepper plants are trying to tell you. The very first thing I want you to do is walk out to your garden and really look at your pepper plants. Not a quick glance on your way to check the tomatoes. I mean actually stop and study them. Here is what you are looking for. Compare your tallest plants to your shortest ones. Now look at which ones have fruit on them. 9 times out of 10, you are going to notice something interesting. The smallest, most stunted plants are the ones that already have peppers hanging on them. And the tall, healthy, bushy plants have no fruit at all yet. That's not a coincidence. What is happening is those small plants set fruit way too early in the season. The plant got a few flowers, got pollinated, and started putting every ounce of energy it had into growing those 1 or 2 peppers instead of growing itself. Meanwhile, the bigger plants were smart enough to focus on building foliage first, and they are going to absolutely explode with fruit later in the season. The plant made a decision too early, and we need to step in and redirect it. I know, you have been waiting for those peppers. But think about it this way. That little plant is maybe 5 or 6 inches tall, and it is trying to ripen a bell pepper that needs a ton of energy and water to develop. The plant is spending everything it has on 1 or 2 fruits when it should be building a bigger frame that can support dozens of fruits later. So go ahead and pick them off. I like to give my plants at least a month to 6 weeks of just pure growing time before I let them start setting fruit. What you will see happen in that window is remarkable. The plant will shoot up, the stems will thicken, the leaves will fill out, and by the time you let it flower again, it will have the size and the root system to actually support a heavy crop. Now, I know somebody out there is thinking about topping their pepper plants, which means cutting the main growing tip off to force the plant to branch out. And here is where I want to be honest with you, because the answer really depends on where you live. If you are in a long growing season area, somewhere in zone 8, 9, or 10, where you have got warm weather from April through October, then yes, topping your peppers can absolutely increase your yields. You cut the main stem. The plant pushes out more side branches. More branches means more flowers, and more flowers means more fruit. But if you are in a shorter growing season area, zone 5 or 6, where your warm months really only run from June through September, topping can actually cost you peppers. You are cutting off 2 to 3 weeks of growth, sometimes more, and the plant has to spend all that time regrowing what you just removed. By the time it gets back to where it was and starts flowering again, you may have lost a solid month of your growing season. So if you are in the north, I would skip the topping and instead focus on the other techniques we are covering here. If you are in the south, give it a try. It can make a real difference. Let me talk about fertilizer, because this is where a lot of people go sideways. The mistake I see most often is people throwing a balanced fertilizer on their peppers right from the start, something like a 10-10-10 or a 20-20-20, thinking they are giving the plant everything it needs. But pepper plants do not need everything all at once. They need different things at different times. In the early season, when the plant is focused on building foliage, what it really wants is nitrogen. Nitrogen is what drives leaf and stem growth, and that is exactly what you want right now. A strong plant with lots of foliage is a plant that can support a heavy fruit load later. Good organic nitrogen sources include blood meal, fish fertilizer, worm castings, alfalfa meal, or kelp meal. Any of those will get the job done. Then, once your plants start flowering, that is when you shift. Flowering uses phosphorus, and fruit production uses potassium. So mid-season, you want to switch to something that delivers those two nutrients. Bone meal is a great source of phosphorus. For potassium, you can use green sand, wood ash in small amounts, because it can shift your soil pH, or even dried banana peels worked into the soil a few weeks ahead of time so they have time to break down. The point is, match the fertilizer to the stage of growth. Nitrogen early, phosphorus, and potassium later. A pepper fruit is about 95% water. If the water is not available in the soil during the hottest months of the year, several things start to happen. Flowers will drop off before they ever set fruit. Peppers that do form will develop blossom end rot, which is that ugly dark patch on the bottom. And the plant may just stop setting fruit altogether because it knows it does not have the resources to support it. What I do is give my pepper plants a deep watering about once every 2 weeks if we are not getting any rain. I am talking about 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons per plant, really soaking the root zone. I am not watering a little bit every day. I am watering deeply and then letting the soil dry down before the next round. That encourages the roots to grow deep into the soil, chasing that moisture, which makes the whole plant more resilient. And keeping the soil temperature right around 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal. Once you get above 100 degrees, the plants start getting stressed and fruit production drops off a cliff. If you are in a hot climate, mulch around the base to keep those roots cool. Now, what I have shared with you today is a real piece of the puzzle, but it is still just one piece. If you are tired of planting things and watching them fail, if you want a garden that actually produces food you can be proud of, then I would really encourage you to check out the guide I put together. It is called The 60-Day System for Your First Abundant Harvest, and it is everything I have learned over 3 decades of gardening, organized into a simple day-by-day plan you can start this season. It covers the complete 60-day planning calendar so you know exactly what to plant and when. It has got the raised bed blueprint with soil mix ratios that eliminate the guesswork. And it includes the beginner pest and disease field guide, so you can identify and fix problems before you lose a single plant. So click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little and you will see it. Or, if you are watching on a television or a computer screen, take out your phone, open up your camera like you are going to take a picture, and hold it up to the QR code on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone screen. Just tap that and it will bring you right to the guide. Either way works. Once your pepper plants start loading up with fruit, they need physical support. A pepper plant carrying 15 or 20 peppers can get surprisingly heavy, and one strong gust of wind or a heavy rain can snap a branch right off. What I like to do is put a simple stake next to each plant and loosely tie the main stem to it with a strip of soft cloth or an old piece of nylon stocking. Do not use wire or zip ties because they will cut into the stem as it grows. You want something with a little give. For larger varieties like bell peppers or poblanos, I will sometimes use a small tomato cage instead. The key is to get your supports in place before the fruit gets heavy. If you wait until the branches are already bending, you are asking for trouble. Let's talk about some common problems you might run into and how to handle them. First, if your pepper plants are flowering, but the flowers keep falling off without setting fruit, that is almost always a temperature issue. Peppers like daytime temperatures between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If it is hotter than 90 degrees or cooler than 60 at night, the plant will drop its blossoms. There is not much you can do about the weather, but you can provide afternoon shade with a shade cloth during heat waves, and that alone can keep enough flowers on the plant to maintain a good fruit set. Second, if you are seeing curled or distorted leaves, check the undersides for aphids. They love pepper plants. A strong blast of water from the hose will knock most of them off. And if they keep coming back, a simple spray made from a few drops of dish soap mixed into a quart of water works well. Just spray in the early morning or evening, never in the midday sun. Third, blossom end rot. That dark sunken spot on the bottom of the pepper. This is a high calcium uptake issue, and it is almost always triggered by inconsistent watering. The calcium is usually in your soil already, but the plant cannot move it to the fruit if the water supply is erratic. The fix is not adding more calcium. The fix is watering on a consistent schedule like we talked about earlier. Fourth, if your plants look healthy but are just not producing many peppers, check your spacing. Pepper plants need about 18 to 24 inches between them. If they are too close together, they compete for nutrients and light, and yields drop. If it is too late to transplant, just make sure you are fertilizing a little more aggressively to compensate. Fifth, if your peppers are small and the walls are thin and tough, the plant is stressed, usually from heat or lack of water. Get your watering dialed in and consider mulching with 2 to 3 inches of straw to keep the root zone cool and moist. If you follow the steps we have covered today, you should be able to prevent most of these issues before they ever start. Now for that bonus tip I promised at the beginning. This one is simple, and it has made a noticeable difference for me. When your pepper plants start flowering, dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt into a gallon of warm water and use it to water the base of each plant. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, and magnesium plays a direct role in the plant's ability to take up nutrients from the soil, especially during the heavy feeding period when fruit is setting. I do this once a month during the flowering and fruiting stage, and the results speak for themselves. The plants stay greener, the flowers hold on better, and the fruit develops fuller and heavier. You do not need much, just that 1 tablespoon per gallon once a month. You can find Epsom salt at any pharmacy or grocery store for a couple of dollars. It is one of the cheapest things you can add to your garden and one of the most effective for peppers specifically. Now what I have shared with you today is a real piece of the puzzle, but it is still just one piece. If you are tired of planting things and watching them fail, if you want a garden that actually produces food you can be proud of, then I would really encourage you to check out the guide I put together. It is called The 60-Day System for Your First Abundant Harvest, and it is everything I have learned over 3 decades of gardening, organized into a simple day-by-day plan you can start this season. It covers the complete 60-day planting calendar so you know exactly what to plant and when. It has got the raised bed blueprint with soil mix ratios that eliminate the guesswork. And it includes the beginner pest and disease field guide so you can identify and fix problems before you lose a single plant. Now there are 2 easy ways to grab it. The first way is to click the link in the description right below this video. Just scroll down a little and you will see it. The second way, if you are watching on a television or a computer screen, is to take out your phone, open up your camera like you are going to take a picture, and hold it up to the QR code you see on screen right now. A little link will pop up at the top of your phone screen. Just tap that and it will bring you right to the guide. No typing, no searching. Either way works. I think it is the best investment you can make in your garden this year.